What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the stimulus package update, daily news, pretty much everything going on here in Washington, D.C. Money, investing, the stock market, you name it, we cover it here on our show. Remember, new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. If you watched our video late last night on 8 p.m., yeah, we was a little bit flustered because we had a hurricane, or I'm sorry, not a hurricane, but a tornado. Yeah, Hurricane Julian, my son's nickname. We had a tornado come through our city yesterday, and literally right through our city. And my parents live a town over. My brother lives another town over, and yeah, literally had a tornado come through. I filmed with no power. Yeah, it was interesting. If you didn't watch that video, go watch the video before this. Interesting video. But yeah, where everybody's okay here. We're all okay. We lost power. We regained it a few hours later. But yeah, interesting story. So everybody's okay. Thank you so much for your well wishes. That was an interesting time. But not unlike the tornado going on between the Democratic Party right now. It's weird because on one end they're saying they're really close to a deal. Senator Joe Manchin himself, I read you guys the quote yesterday. Joe Manchin's quote, him literally from himself, said that they could have either a deal on the top line number, the amount of the package, somewhere around 1.75 trillion to 1.9, maybe $2 trillion. Joe Manchin himself said they could have a deal on that as early as today, Friday. He said that yesterday, that they could have a deal on that today. We have other Democrats saying that the entire deal could be agreed on as early as today. Then they could go into voting. But on the other hand, it seems like the words coming out of Joe Manchin's mouth and Kirsten Sinema's mouth uh, is completely different. The thought or the phrase "two-faced" comes to mind if you've seen the Batman movies with the guy or the character named Two-Face. Let me know if you've seen the Batman movie where he gets his face burned and the character Two-Face, or if you know the comic books. Kind of comes to mind because that's exactly what we're seeing here. I'm gonna let you know literally what's going down here with Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. You know their theme song from the comic books, right? Dun dun dun. And they're living up to their theme song. I'm gonna let you guys know exactly what's going on here with this latest stimulus package. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below. I'll keep you up to date with the daily drama, the daily dirt going on here with the daily proceedings with the stimulus package, as well as what's going on in our country. Let's jump right in. Also, some really big news from the CDC. As you can see here, the CDC signs off on the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson boosters and says that people can get a shot different from their original one. The decision means that those eligible for boosters can choose any of the three now authorized in the United States. Yeah, check this out. Tens of millions of Americans can now sign up to get the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson boosters beginning Friday, today, after the nation's top public health officials endorsed recommendations from the expert advisors that the shots are safe and effective at bolstering protections against the virus. The green light from Rochelle Walensky, the director for the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Preventions, means that the eligible Americans at risk of severe disease can choose any of the three boosters now authorized in the US, regardless of their original shot. Yeah, so you now can get a different booster than your original shot, which this information kind of just came around about in the last few days, and now they have authorized it. So you can now get a different booster than your original shots. Quote, Walensky says, the evidence shows that all three COVID vaccines authorized in the US are safe, as demonstrated by the over 400 million vaccine doses that have already been given. Walensky said in a statement Thursday night, several hours after receiving unanimous recommendations from the expert panel called the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. Quote, and they are all highly effective in reducing the risk of severe disease, hospitalization, and death, even in the midst of the widely circulating Delta variant. Wow, so now you can mix and match and get a different booster shot if you want. Let me know. Are you considering getting a different booster? Because I know a lot of people got their original shot, and I know a lot of people, I've seen some comments that said people went there and really they just kind of didn't get a choice and they just kind of got whatever was available. And now there's more data available that like different shots or have different effectiveness to the Delta variant and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you think you'll be getting a different booster or swapping up? Now people have the choice. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see the different studies that may come out from maybe mixing and matching different shots. Some really big news here. We're going to have a lot of big news, honestly, here. President Biden says last night at like 10 p.m. that he's open to altering or eliminating possibly the filibuster to advance voting rights. Remember, the filibuster is that is a really big rule that you need 60 votes in the Senate. If and remember in the past that the Republicans wanted to get rid of the filibuster. I'll show this article back from 2018. Republicans wanted to get rid of the filibuster in the past. Democrats want to get rid of the filibuster now. It's that rule that you need 60 votes to pass a normal bill. Of course, when you have control of the House and the Senate, you can pass a reconciliation bill, which is how they're passing the stimulus package and how the Democrats passed the last stimulus package. And Trump used it back in 2017 to pass the 2017 Trump tax cuts, also as a reconciliation package. But if you've been watching the show, you know you can only use the reconciliation process a few times per year, and it's a much more lengthy process, and you can't just pass bill after bill after bill with just the 50 votes with the or 50 or 51 votes with the reconciliation process. If the filibuster wasn't there, by the way, Mitch McConnell got rid of the filibuster for appointing Supreme Court justices, so you only need a simple majority, 51 votes, to appoint Supreme Court justices, which Mitch McConnell got rid of. He actually weakened the filibuster to do that. So they have weakened the filibuster multiple times throughout the years, and both Republicans and Democrats have wanted to get rid of the filibuster when the time was right for them. But nonetheless, it still remains for the main bill or main votes, you know, like when you go to pass a regular bill right now. But Democrats did use the reconciliation process to pass the third stimulus check package. Remember, not a single Republican voted yes on that, and they're going to use it to pass this next stimulus package if they can get Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema on board. Not a single Republican is going to vote for that either. But President Biden said last night he opened the door to fundamentally altering or eliminating the filibuster to advance voting rights and potentially pass other legislation. But he said he has held off on pushing for filibuster reform because he believes it would jeopardize his economic agenda. He says, if in fact I get myself into, at this moment, a debate on the filibuster, I lose at least 3 votes right now to get what I have to get done on the economic side of the equation, foreign policy side of the equation. But Biden reiterated his support for a return to the talking filibuster when a senator must physically be on the Senate floor to block legislation, which basically means you can only block it for a certain amount of time as long as you could physically stand up there, which basically means you wouldn't be able to block a bill forever, which is how it is now. Quote, I also think we're going to have to move to the point where we fundamentally alter the filibuster. The idea, for example, my Republican friends say that we're going to default on the national debt because they're going to filibuster that, and we need 10 Republicans to support us, is the most bizarre thing I have ever heard, without expanding on what he meant by fundamentally alter. He says, if that gets pulled again, I think you're going to see an awful lot of Democrats be ready to say, not me, I'm not doing that again. We're going to end the filibuster. But it is still difficult to end the filibuster beyond that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think they should end the filibuster? Also, do you think they should end the debt limit? House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer signaled a few days ago that the House could be voting here soon to remove the debt limit and literally get rid of it here sometime in the future. Because again, they passed the debt limit, but it's only a temporary extension till around December 3rd. It doesn't have a date on it. That actually has a money extension on it, $480 billion. That's expected to go to around December 3rd, which is when the money will literally run out again, unless the Democrats pass the stimulus package, which kind of leads us to where we are with Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema again. Check this out. So Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders met again last night, and remember they met a few days ago, and they came out of that meeting, and they posed for a photo op, and they put their arms around each other, and they kind of had a hug there, and had a good meeting. And at the end of the meeting, Senator Joe Manchin said, "Don't keep fighting, Bernie." And they kind of had a good meeting, and they both said, yeah, it was a good meeting. And then just yesterday, Senator Joe Manchin said, we might have a deal by tomorrow. We might have a top line number. Well, Joe Manchin and Bernie met again last night, and well, the meeting didn't go as well as last time. In fact, check check this out. I would have liked to be in on this meeting. I would have liked to be there reporting this meeting to you, because it just seemed like it was a tense. I almost could have seen Bernie wanted to slug this guy. Check this out. Check out this headline. Manchin threatens zero spending in blow-up with Bernie Sanders. Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, I think he's a Democrat, right? Is he a Democrat? And Bernie Sanders, who considers himself an independent, but really, he's basically a Democrat, got into an argument during which the centrist West Virginia, Joe Manchin, senator, said he was willing to let go of all of President Biden's social spending plan, according to an Axios report that has been corroborated by multiple other senators who witnessed the spat, who witnessed the argument. Fellow Democratic Senator John Tester from Montana and Senator Chris Coons from Delaware, both of whom serve on the Senate Appropriations Committee and were both in the room when it happened, relayed the details of the blowup to Axios. According to John Tester, Joe Manchin said, "I'm comfortable with nothing," when Bernie Sanders said, we need to do $3.5 trillion. So Bernie Sanders says, we need to do $3.5 trillion. And Joe Manchin responded with, I'm comfortable with doing nothing. Yeah, and John Tester said, well, the truth is both of them are in different spots. Yeah. Manchin apparently confirmed this with saying, I'm comfortable with zero, and forming a zero with his fingers and showing it to Bernie Sanders. Tester told Axios that he believes Manchin when he says he is fine with none of Biden's multi-trillion-dollar social spending plan being passed. Coons described the verbal quarrel as a vigorous 10-minute discussion, according to Coons and Manchin. And Manchin says we shouldn't be doing it at all. when speaking about the social spending plan. Manchin says this will contribute to inflation. We've already passed the American Rescue Plan. We should just pass the infrastructure bill and, pause for 6 months. So Manchin says to Bernie Sanders that I'm comfortable with zero and that we should pause for 6 months. Meanwhile, just yesterday, Joe Manchin said that we could have a deal by today. So when you think of the character from the comic book or from the movie Batman, Two-Face, it really does kind of make you think of Joe Manchin here. He literally is saying two completely different things in 24 hours. And it kind of makes you think he's saying two completely different things to Joe Biden here as well. I mean, he's saying two completely different things. And one way he's saying that we're going to make a deal within 24 hours by today. And then on the other side, he's saying to Bernie Sanders that he's fine with spending zero and that we should pause for 6 months. You literally I can't understand this guy. He's the only Democrat saying these things. And not only that, but this guy literally wants to take money and food and shelter and clothing away from tens of millions of people and children. He wants to take money and food from millions of children. Check this out. You're not going to believe this. Here's a report from CNBC. Joe Manchin's child tax credit changes could prevent more than 37 million children from getting aid. And it's actually a lot more than this. Check this out. Now, would you want to be the person that prevents 37? It's actually more than 37 million. I'll show you this why here. Now, remember that only 65 million, 65 million is a lot, but 65 million children are getting the child tax credit, those monthly checks of $250 to $300 per month. So he's now talking his income requirements here, these restrictions that he wants to put on families to cut them off at $60,000 for a family. That's for two people, a mom and a father. So that means they'd have to both make less than $30,000 each and have a working requirement for both of them. Okay, we'll get to that here in a second. That will cut off more than 37 million children from getting the aid. That's more than 50%, and it's actually going to be a lot more than that. Check this out, because they didn't even include the work requirement in this number. So more than 50% of the children wouldn't even get the child tax credits anymore. So he's literally going to cut out 37 million plus children from getting literally money for food and clothing and shelter because of one. Would you want to be the guy that does this? I wouldn't. All right, check this out. More than 37 million children could lose the enhanced monthly child tax credit if Democrats adopt Senator Joe Manchin's reported desire, or demands, as he's called it, to include an income cap of $60,000 per year, a new analysis finds. Now, note that that's for a family. So if you're a married filing jointly couple, that's for two people. So that means that two people, a mom and a dad, as an example, married filing jointly, would both have to make under $60,000 combined. So that means they would both have to make less than $30,000. The estimation from the Niskanen Center, Robert Orr and Samuel Hammond, find that 37.4 million children could lose out on the federal aid. Remember that we just did the numbers, or we looked it up, that the average salary is like 50-some thousand dollars a year. And that's why a lot of people, 37.4 million children, would lose out on the federal aid. Because again, this $60,000 cap is for two people. For two people if you're married. That would mean a cut in benefits for 60% of the kids who are currently receiving the monthly payments worth up to $300 per child. And that's not even it. They didn't even factor this in. Check this out. Uh, one more thing. Manchin's home state of West Virginia would see a cut in 58% of the recipients with the income cap, with almost 190,000 fewer children qualifying, the analysis finds. President Joe Biden has made the enhanced child tax credit a cornerstone of his fight against childhood poverty, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, which has become a law earlier this year in the third stimulus check package, which was increased from $2,000 to $3,000 to $3,600 per child, depending on the age. Half of it was made advanceable, et cetera, et cetera. And more families than ever qualify because there's no income requirement on it now, extending it to families earning little to no income for the first time. Economists say that extending the credit can fulfill Biden's goal of significantly reducing childhood poverty. If extended to 2025, which it won't be, at least in this first stimulus package, they're now talking about doing it for as little as 1 year. But remember, there's going to be another package after this where they can extend it again. The child poverty rate would fall from 14.2% to 8.4%. That's 4.3 million fewer children living in poverty. But get this, the estimate also doesn't take into account the work requirement, which Manchin has repeatedly said he supports. The work requirement would further reduce the number of children with access to the child tax credit, the monthly checks. The report says, in particular, it would preclude many whose parents are students or disabled or unable to work, or grandparents who claim their children as dependents. So this study did not even include the work requirement. So it would actually be many, many millions more children that would be excluded than the 37 million people 37 million children that would be cut out just from the $60,000 income cap. And the work requirement would probably cut out, I don't even know, another 10 million more. I don't even know, another 15 million more. I mean, there's only 65 million children getting the number. So, I mean, how close are we going to get? It's going to cut out a lot. It's going to cut out a lot. Yeah. So, and remember, the Joe Manchin is the only Democrat demanding these things. There's literally other Democrats that are like saying that this is appalling, this is cruel, we can't do this. But the problem is we have people like Joe Manchin saying he's willing to do nothing. He's willing to put zero. He's willing to pause. But just yesterday, he was saying, I think we could have a deal by today. So who knows what could happen? We could have a deal by, it depends on what Joe shows up. Will the Joe Manchin that wants to make a deal show up today? Will the Joe Manchin that wants to make a deal with zero show up today? Which two-faced Joe will show up today? Will it be, who knows? It could be the Joe that says, yeah, let's make a deal today. It also could be the Joe that gets mad at Bernie Sanders and says, nope, no deal today. Literally can't make this stuff up, guys. It's so crazy because he's the only Democrat requiring these stuff. It would be different if, for example, there's Republicans that want a work requirement, okay? If he was a Republican, I could fully understand because there's a bunch of Republicans that want to do that. Mitt Romney, Marco Rubio, a bunch of other Republicans who want to do that, right? I get it. If there was a bunch of Republicans and you were negotiating with Republicans, I get it, right? Now you have the moral and the ethics issue that you're going to potentially have tens of millions of children that might not be able to eat and may have to live on the streets and may not have shelter and all that stuff, right? And I mean, do you want to be the person not responsible for children eating? I mean, you have to make your peace with God and all that stuff, right? I'm not going to be the person taking food out of a child's mouth. It's not going to be me. I mean, that's Joe Manchin, right? But Joe Manchin's the only Democrat demanding these things. So that's where all these other Democrats are like, we don't want these things, Joe. You're the only one doing these things. So it's so weird because just yesterday we literally had Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer saying literally all these articles. Pace has picked up. Democrats' ideal by week's end. Talking about by Friday that we could have some preliminary agreements on the number, and possibly by the end of this week, everything could be locked up. We could have a final agreement. And that could still be the thing. I mean, they were only possibly in the climate policy. They still have to finish up a final couple things on Medicare and prescription drug pricing. And really, there's still a lot of things that they're negotiating on and what's going to actually end up being in the bill, because there's just a lot of details that they're negotiating on that they don't want to tell us because it's in negotiations. And we really don't know a lot of details because they're negotiating on it, and we're not in the negotiations. They are. But I mean, they're literally saying that the deal could be done by week's end. So which one's it going to be? Well, I guess we'll have to stay tuned to find out. It's like a soap opera in real life developing before our eyes. So I'll keep you up to date here. Make sure to subscribe down below. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will keep you up to date. Uh, it's crazy. I know. So don't miss out on any new videos at this point. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how there's a big Social Security raise that was just announced and could be even more, like a $200 per month Social Security raise for all Social Security recipients coming in the future. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.